The memory of the late great Hall of Famer Lou Gehrig honored recently nationally when his all-time hits mark with the New York Yankees was eclipsed by the current captain of the Bronx Bombers, Derek Jeter. Gehrig's memory honored locally every single day by a Diamondbacks fan, no less. His name is Kirk Jones. He has a likeness of the Iron Horse on a painting in his living room. Why? Mark McClune has that story.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. That I might have been given a bad break, but I've got an awful lot to live for.
The legendary Lou Gehrig shares a kinship with Kirk Jones. Both had baseball careers that were cut short, betrayed by their own bodies. But while the Iron Horse famously played in 2,130 consecutive games, Kirk never made it to the majors. He never threw a pitch in a big league park. Until the one day he did. Baseball has always been in Kirk Jones' blood. A high school standout, Kirk pitched at UNLV and was drafted by the Cleveland Indians in 1978.
I remember sitting down with the local, local newspaper, being interviewed, and you're just, you're living your lifelong dream. It's a dream that, that I've always had as being a professional athlete.
An elbow injury ended his dream of playing in the big leagues. But that hurdle pales in comparison to what he would face later in life. The self-described, always active father and grandfather was doing a routine workout when he noticed that something felt wrong.
I started noticing that my dominant leg, which is my right leg, was, during the course of working out, was gradually becoming weaker than my left leg. Through all these years being very active, we all know ourselves, we know our body, and I knew something wasn't right, and that's where, through a series of appointments with the doctors, that there was the possibility of having ALS.
I didn't know what Lou Gehrig's ALS was. And I remember the first time that I did look, it was after they suspected that it was ALS. It actually took my breath away.
I'm sure I heard of ALS, but as far as knowing that it was a neurodegenerative disease that takes people's lives, on an average of 3 to 5 years, I didn't know. The first pitch back in 1998.
The Jones have been Diamondbacks season ticket holders since day one. And Karen says the most special moment came this season on July the 11th. 31 years after he was drafted, Kirk Jones finally got his call to the bigs.
Derek, a pleasure. Kirk Jones. Nice to meet you.
Going out the first pitch?
Yes, I am.
Good.
Yeah. That was the anniversary of my third year anniversary of my father's passing was on that day. So it was an emotional time for me and for my family. So when I saw, looking over and seeing, my wife, 31 years, just seeing our children.
Fans, please welcome Kirk Jones as he will be throwing out our ceremonial first pitch.
And then as I was on the mound and getting ready to throw that first pitch, out of the corner of my eye, my 2.5-year-old grandson is running towards me, and so I just couldn't help but smile.
Great job, Kirk. Thank you. You are an inspiration to all of us.
For him to have, gotten out of the chair and to go up on the mound and limp up there with it seemed like one good leg and throw a strike, it was incredible.
Going into Little League and Babe Ruth in high school, my dad would catch me in our backyard. Well, there was a special moment as I reflected on my father's anniversary and him and I, catching each other in the backyard, that he caught that first pitch for me. He was there. That's the ball Grandpa threw out. Look at that. And it was just a moment that I'll treasure the rest of my life.
Well, Mark, no doubt a difficult story to tell, but we think an important story to tell. Can you give us an update? How's Kirk doing?
Well, just trying to make the most of every day. The diagnosis for ALS is between 3 to 5 years, so he's out traveling as much as he can with his wife Karen this summer, coming to as many D-back games as possible. In fact, you might have seen him on our broadcast earlier this season trying to raise awareness for Augie's Quest in the auction right here on Fox Sports Arizona. And that night he was feeling good enough that he walked up the steps to the Diamondbacks dugout, where he met with Mel Stottlemyre Jr., talked a little pitching, and also walked down memory lane. Both guys, former UNLV running Rebels.
Mark McClune, thank you.
Absolutely.